Her car was gone at 2 a.m., but her wedding ring sat on the counter glinting like a lie. If this story moved, you don't forget to drop a comment, and subscribe to Revenge Forge for more unforgettable stories that speak to the heart. I'm Justin Sawyer, 36, a senior investment strategist at a financial advisory firm in Austin, Texas. My life was a well-balanced portfolio, stable, lucrative, damn near perfect. My wife, Tessa, 29, was a spark, quick-witted, with a smile that could sell dreams and a presence that owned every room. We met 7 years ago at a tech summit in Dallas. I was crunching numbers for high-net-worth clients. She was pitching her event planning startup, Her Energy, a magnet. By the end of the night, we were sharing whiskey at a rooftop bar, trading stories about market risks and big bets. 2 years later, we married on a hill country vineyard, her vows soft against the Texas breeze, promising a lifetime of loyalty. Our modern loft in Austin's Zilker neighborhood was our fortress. Floor-to-ceiling windows, cedar accents, a balcony where we'd grill burgers and plan our future. I earned $180,000 a year managing portfolios for a firm pulling in $90 million annually. Tessa's event planning business thrived, her flair landing clients from tech giants to local charities. We were a team, me, the architect of wealth, her, the vision that sold it. Weekends were for kayaking on Lady Bird Lake, hitting food trucks on South Congress, or just us tangled in bed sketching dreams of a ranch in Dripping Springs. But even the best portfolios hide losses. It started subtle, like a market dip you don't notice until it's a crash. 5 months ago, Tessa's phone became her shield. She'd tilt it away when texting, her fingers swift, her face guarded. Client stuff, she'd say, her smile too sharp. I'd nod, but doubt crept in cold and heavy. She started staying late, her events demanding last-minute prep that stretched past midnight. I'd wait up the loft, too quiet, her dinner cold on the counter. Everything good, I'd ask when she slipped in, her hair slightly mussed. Just hectic, she'd reply, avoiding my eyes. Her perfume changed, something spicy, not the citrus I'd gifted her. I told myself it was nothing, that Reddit stories about cheating were just that, stories. I was wrong. The first crack came at her father's annual gala, a lavish affair at his sprawling Lake Travis estate. Gerald Whitmore, 62, a real estate mogul with a handshake like a vice, never hid his disdain for me. Still playing with stocks, Justin, he'd boom his laugh loud enough for his elite guests to hear. His wife, Ellen Whitmore, would murmur, "Gerald, enough," but her smile was pitying. Tessa would squeeze my hand, whispering, "He's just joking." I'd shrug for her. But at the gala, I saw her with Mason Rutledge, Gerald's top broker and my old college roommate. Mason, 40, all charm and tailored suits, leaned too close, his hand brushing her arm. Her laugh was too warm, her eyes too bright. I brushed it off as business, but my chest tightened, a warning I couldn't shake. The real blow landed 2 weeks later. I was closing the office, the smell of ink and coffee lingering, when Tessa texted she'd be late, client dinner. I drove home restless and noticed her desk drawer locked, a new habit. Curiosity isn't betrayal, but it felt like it when I pried it open with a letter opener. Inside, a bank statement for an account I didn't know, $55,000 in deposits labeled event fees. Clipped to it, a note in Mason's handwriting, asterisk, "Meet me 9 p.m. Our place." My heart stopped, the paper shaking in my hand. This wasn't just a Reddit story. It was my life fracturing. I didn't confront her. Anger doesn't win, market strategy does. My fintech side hustle, a venture fund I'd quietly built, gave me tools most husbands don't have. I traced the account to a shell company linked to Gerald's real estate empire, with Mason as the signatory. Tessa wasn't just cheating with my old friend. She was tangled in her father's financial schemes. I sat in our loft, the city lights blurring through the rain-streaked windows, my pulse a steady drum. How do you love a woman who's been lying to your face? I hired a private investigator, Nora Hayes, a sharp pro who'd vetted deals for my fund. "Track Tessa and Mason," I said. "Every move, every transaction." Nora's eyes narrowed. "You ready for this, Justin?" I wasn't, but I nodded. At home, I played the devoted husband. Tessa breezed in, her smile a mask. "Tough day?" I asked, pouring her wine. She sighed. "Crazy." Her phone buzzed and she flipped it over too quick. I watched her, the woman I'd built a life with, and felt like a stranger. Nora's first report came 4 days later. Photos of Tessa and Mason at a downtown penthouse, his hand on her waist, her head tilted toward him. The penthouse was leased by Gerald's company, not Mason. Why was my father-in-law funding their affair? I dug into the shell company's records, finding transfers disguised as consulting fees, $180,000 over a year, funneled through Tessa to hide Gerald's tax evasion. My wife wasn't just a cheater. She was her father's accomplice, and I'd been the fool bankrolling our life. The betrayal cut deep, but I didn't break. I'd seen enough cheating stories on Reddit to know rage clouds judgment. I met my lawyer, Derek Larson, who'd handled my fund's contracts. Lock down my assets, I told him, and pull every file on Gerald's firm. Derek's pen raced across his notepad. This could get messy, Justin. I nodded. Messy was fine, I wanted truth. The first twist hit at Gerald's next event, a charity auction dripping with wealth. He pulled me aside, his breath heavy with scotch. Justin, my firm needs a cash infusion. Big deal, tight timeline. Your fund can back us right. His arrogance was staggering. He didn't know my venture fund was worth millions, that I held his lifeline. I'll consider it, I said, my smile cold. Inside, I was steel. This wasn't just a cheating wife story, it was my chance to flip the board. That night, I caught Tessa and Mason in a corner, their whispers too intimate, her hand brushing his sleeve. Nora's latest update burned in my pocket, footage of Tessa hiding documents in the penthouse safe. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage. I was fighting for my name, my legacy. I slipped out the auction's laughter fading and vowed they'd regret underestimating Justin Sawyer. I didn't go home. I drove to my office, the Austin skyline a blur through the rain. Tessa's laugh with Mason replayed in my head, her hand on his sleeve, a snapshot of betrayal. The note asterisk, meet me 9 p.m. Our place asterisk sat heavy in my wallet next to Nora's photos of their penthouse rendezvous. My fingers gripped the steering wheel, my plan sharpening. Gerald thought he could mock me. Tessa thought she could deceive me. And Mason thought he could steal my life. They were about to face a reckoning. Morning broke heavy with clouds. Tessa was gone when I returned to the loft, her side of the bed untouched, a note on the counter asterisk, early meeting, back late. Her handwriting was precise like her lies. I brewed coffee, the bitterness matching my mood, and called Nora. What's new on the penthouse? I asked, my voice steady. Nora didn't mince words. Tessa's been there daily. Mason too. I got a partial view of the safe's contents folders, flash drives. Looks like financial records. My jaw clenched. Keep watching. I hung up the coffee, cold in my hands. Tessa wasn't just cheating. She was guarding her father's secrets, and Mason was her partner. I spent the day at the office analyzing client portfolios, smiling for colleagues, my mind elsewhere. My venture fund's database was my arsenal, and I used it. The shell company tied to Tessa's secret account had funneled $250,000 in event fees over 15 months, all linked to Gerald's real estate deals. The transfers were clumsy, disguised as business, but screaming tax evasion. I cross-referenced the penthouse lease. Gerald's firm paid the rent, but Mason signed the contract. My old roommate wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was laundering money for her father, and Tessa was the key. The second twist came that afternoon. Derek called. Gerald's firm applied for a $3 million loan through your fund, he said, his voice low. He doesn't know it's yours. I leaned back, the office hum fading. Gerald, who'd sneered at my stock games, was begging for my cash. The irony was razor sharp, but I wasn't ready to show my hand. Delay them, I told Derek. Ask for more audits. Let him squirm. Derek chuckled. You're ruthless, Justin. Ruthless, no. I was strategic. Nora's next report was a gut punch. Security footage from the penthouse showed Tessa meeting a man who wasn't Mason, a stranger in a dark suit, his face half hidden. He handed her a flash drive, his gestures tense. Nora traced him to a consulting firm with ties to Gerald's offshore accounts. This guy's trouble, she texted. Linked to money laundering for real estate tycoons. My stomach churned. Tessa wasn't just cheating with Mason, she was entangled with criminals, and Gerald had pulled her in. Or had she chosen it? I couldn't confront her yet. I needed ironclad evidence, not just snapshots and suspicions. So I kept playing the part. Tessa came home late, her eyes tired, her smile forced. Rough day, I asked, setting a plate of tacos. She nodded, picking at the food. Nonstop. Her phone buzzed and she swiped it away too fast. I watched her, my heart a knot of love and fury. How had we fallen this far? I'd built a future for us, poured my soul into it, and she'd traded it for secrets and a penthouse key. The third twist hit 2 days later. Nora sent a video timestamped 1 a.m. Tessa in the penthouse arguing with Mason, her voice sharp, his hands raised. "You swore this wouldn't hurt Justin," she snapped. Mason's reply was low. "You're too deep, Tessa. Gerald owns us." She shoved him, tears streaming, and stormed out. The timestamp was last night, hours after she'd kissed me goodnight. My chest tightened, not from pain but from truth. Tessa wasn't a mastermind. She was trapped, and Mason was her chain. I rewatched the video, my mind racing. Tessa's tears were real, but so were her lies. She'd chosen Mason, chosen her father's empire over me, but owns us. That was new. I called Nora. Focus on Gerald's offshore accounts. Find out who's pulling his strings. She didn't hesitate. "This could get tricky, Justin." "You sure?" I was. Truth was better than blindness. The next week was a chess game. I moved money from our joint accounts to a secure one. Tessa couldn't access Derek's advice. Derek dug into Gerald's firm, uncovering a trail of falsified records, overvalued properties, ghost investors, millions siphoned to the Bahamas. Tessa's event fees were a fraction of the fraud. I felt sick, not just for me, but for the life we'd lost. I'd read Reddit cheating stories, but living one was a beast of its own. Every night Tessa slept beside me, her breathing soft, while I lay awake plotting. The fourth twist came at a family dinner at the Whitmore's estate. Gerald, oblivious to my knowledge, toasted to new horizons, his eyes glinting with greed. Tessa sat across from me, her smile brittle, Mason at her side like a loyal shadow. Ellen, her mother, chatted about art galas, but her glances at Tessa were tense, knowing. I played along, laughing, pouring wine, but my eyes were on Tessa's phone buzzing under the table. She excused herself, and I followed, silent as a ghost. In the hallway, she typed furiously, her face pale. I glimpsed the screen before she locked it, a message to Mason. "He's getting suspicious. Move the files." My blood froze. They weren't just hiding an affair, they were covering tracks, and I was the threat. I slipped back to the table, my face a mask, but inside I was fire. Gerald's loan request was my leverage, and I'd use it to dismantle them all. Nora's next update was a jackpot. The man in the dark suit was Victor Crane, a fixer for dirty money linked to a syndicate that propped up Gerald's failing deals. The flash drive he'd given Tessa, encrypted files detailing Gerald's fraud dates, amounts, fake contracts. Tessa wasn't just laundering money, she was holding evidence that could destroy her father, or protect him. The question was, whose side was she on? I didn't confront Tessa. I stayed silent, letting her stew. Her texts grew frantic. "Justin, why is everything locked? We need to talk." I ignored them. I wasn't ready to show my hand, not yet. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a war, and I was ready to win. The Austin skyline pulsed through my office window as I sat at my desk, Nora's video of Tessa and Mason Rutledge arguing in the penthouse looping in my mind. My wife wasn't just cheating with my old college roommate. She was shielding her father's fraud, entangled in a web spun by Gerald Whitmore and Victor Crane. The trust I'd built, locking away $250,000 in savings, $510,000 in investments, and our Zilker loft was my shield. But I wasn't safe yet. Tessa, Mason, Gerald, and Crane thought they could outmaneuver me, and I needed to unravel every thread of their scheme before they buried me. I called Nora at 6 a.m., her voice sharp despite the hour. "Tessa's scared," I said, keeping my tone low. "She's arguing with Mason, hiding files. Crane's involved. I need their next move, Crane's leverage, any other players." "On it, Justin," Nora said. "Give me 48 hours. While she worked, I reached out to Lena Carter, a former compliance officer at my firm who'd left 2 years ago after clashing with Mason over shady client deals. Lena, 37, was a data bloodhound with a vendetta against liars. We met at a taco truck near Barton Springs, the smell of carne asada and diesel grounding me. I handed her a flash drive with Nora's initial findings text between Tessa and Mason, bank records of Tessa's secret $55,000 account, the shell company tied to Gerald's empire. "They're not just planning an affair," I said. "They're stealing my life. I need to know how." Lena's eyes narrowed as she scanned the files. "Mason's always been a snake," she said, her voice low. "He tanked my career when I flagged his off-books trades. But Tessa, she's playing dirty." "There's more," I said. "They're using Gerald's resources. I found $180,000 funneled to Mason's account. I think they're building a bigger play." Lena bit into her taco, her gaze hard. "I've got a contact in your firm's audit team. Let me poke around." By noon, Lena texted back, Mason wasn't just Tessa's lover. He was pitching my investment strategy, years of my work, to a rival firm in Houston, Gulfstream Wealth, for $2.8 million. The meeting was set for tomorrow at a downtown hotel. But Lena's contact dropped a bombshell. Mason had a side deal. If Gulfstream passed, he was shopping the strategy to a private equity group in San Antonio for $2 million, no questions asked. Tessa was in the dark about the San Antonio deal. Mason was double-crossing her. I dove into their digital trail using my firm's database access. Mason's security was weak, same password he'd used in college. I found emails with a name I didn't expect: Carla Bennett, 44, our firm's operations manager. She'd always been meticulous, but her messages to Mason were cold and calculated. Keep Sawyer clueless. Gulfstream's the target, but San Antonio's our backup. Tessa's too emotional, she'll crack. Mason's reply: got it, Carla. She's under control. Carla, neck deep in our firm's operations, was in on it. My pulse hammered. This wasn't just a divorce or an affair, it was a corporate conspiracy. I forwarded the emails to Lena, who swore over the phone. Carla's been dodging compliance checks forever, she said. She's got her hands in every budget. This is her exit strategy. What's her angle? I asked, pacing my office, the river a steady glint below. Cash, Lena said. She's got a side hustle, failed real estate ventures. She's drowning in loans. Selling your strategy clears her debts and sets her up. I needed more. I called Nora. Look into Carla Bennett. She's working with Mason and Tessa. Nora whistled. This is a hornet's nest, Justin. I'll need time. Make it quick, I said. They're pitching tomorrow. That night, Tessa's texts turned frantic. Justin, why's everything frozen? We need to talk. I didn't reply. She called 4 times, then 8. I let it go to voicemail. Back at our loft, she'd find the new locks, a precaution Derek had insisted on. She was cornered, but I wasn't ready to face her. I worked tightening my monitoring tools. Every email, every transaction Tessa and Mason made, I saw. By 3 a.m., I had their pitch deck, my investment strategy, dressed up with Tessa's branding and Mason's spin. They'd even named it Rutledge Wealth Matrix. My work, their lies. Then Nora called, her voice tense. Got something on Carla. She's not just in on it, she's been skimming from the firm for years. $750,000 funneled to a shell account in the Caymans. Mason's her front, but Tessa's clueless about the scale. I gripped my desk, the rain a steady hum outside. What about Tessa's sister-in-law, Claire? She's deeper than you thought, Nora said. She's been feeding Carla intel on your accounts. Emails show Claire's getting a 3% cut of the San Antonio deal. But here's the twist, she's also been texting a lawyer planning to leak the deal to the feds if Mason and Tessa don't pay her more. Claire, not just family drama, but a double-crosser. My stomach churned, but I pushed it down. Send me everything, I said. Nora's files were a minefield: emails from Claire to Carla, a wire transfer Claire to Carla, $7,000 labeled consulting fee. She wasn't loyal to Tessa, she was playing them all. I met Lena at her apartment, a minimalist space with skyline views and a humming coffee maker. Claire's planning to screw them over, I said, showing her the emails. She's working with Carla, but she's got her own exit. Lena's jaw tightened. Your sister-in-law's a shark. What's the plan? We don't shut down the system, I said. We expose them at Gulfstream's meeting. All of them. The next morning I drove to Houston, Lena riding shotgun. Tessa stayed in Austin, likely scrambling to fix her frozen accounts. She thought I was at the office, buried in client reports. The hotel, a sleek tower overlooking the Buffalo Bayou, was Tessa's stage, glossy high stakes. She'd arrived in Houston, her emerald dress catching every glance, her smile a weapon. Mason stood beside her, his suit crisp, his grin smug. Carla was there too, her presence understated but commanding, her eyes scanning the room. The Gulfstream execs, 3 suits with sharp stares, sat at a polished table sipping coffee. I slipped in, Lena blending into the crowd of advisors. We'd hacked the guest list, posing as consultants. Tessa's pitch was seamless. Our matrix redefines wealth management, secure, scalable hours. Mason chimed in, all charm. With your partnership, we'll own the Southwest. My matrix. Their theft. I stood, my voice cutting through the hum. Before you sign, you should know the truth. Tessa's eyes locked on mine, her face paling. Mason's smile faltered. Carla's hand froze on her tablet. Justin, Tessa said, her voice tight. This isn't the place. It's exactly the place, I said, plugging my laptop into the projector. The screen lit up emails between Tessa, Mason, and Carla plotting to sell my strategy. bank records of Carla's $750,000 theft, Claire's texts tying her to the scheme, and a wire transfer Claire to Carla $7,000 labeled consulting fee. The room went silent. One of the Gulfstream execs, a woman with a sleek ponytail, leaned forward. "Explain this, Miss Sawyer," Tessa stammered, her charm crumbling. "It's a misunderstanding. Justin's upset. Personal issues." "No, I said my voice steel. You stole my work. Carla's been skimming $750,000. Mason's your front man. And Claire, she's planning to leak this deal to the feds for a bigger cut." Mason tried to interrupt. "This is nonsense." "Nonsense." I cut in, clicking to the next slide. Claire's lawyer texts Carla's Cayman's account. "You built your pitch on my matrix. You're done." The ponytailed exec stood, her face hard. "We don't deal with frauds." She nodded to her team and they walked out, their coffee untouched. Tessa's eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. Mason grabbed his jacket, muttering excuses. Carla slipped out, her composure cracking. I didn't stay to gloat. I walked out, Lena behind me, the Houston heat heavy on my skin. But there was one more twist. As I reached my car, Claire was waiting, her face pale, her hands shaking. "Justin, we need to talk." "You're out of moves," I said, my voice cold. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice breaking. "Carla forced me. She's got dirt on me, bad loans, a failed startup. I didn't want to hurt you." I stared at her, the sister-in-law who'd smiled at our wedding, the woman who'd sold me out. "You chose this," I said. "Own it." She reached for me, but I stepped back. "Justin, please, stay away," I said, getting into my car. As I drove off, my phone buzzed. "Nora, Carla's making a move. She's meeting the San Antonio buyer tomorrow. Tessa's out, but Claire's going with her." The game wasn't over. They weren't done. Neither was I. Back in Austin, I found a note slipped under my office door, unsigned, handwritten, "Check her email drafts." She's not done. My pulse spiked. I logged into Tessa's email again, using her predictable password. In her drafts folder, I found a message to her lawyer, unsent push for a quick settlement. "Justin doesn't know about the offshore account. Mason says we can still win." Offshore account. My stomach churned. I dug deeper, finding a hidden folder in her cloud bank statements for an account in the Bahamas, $65,000 funded by consulting fees from Mason's second shell company. Tessa wasn't just planning a divorce, she was stashing money, betting on a big payout. I called Derek. "Tessa's got an offshore account," I said, forwarding the statements. $65,000 tied to Mason. "What can we do?" Derek's voice was grim. "We freeze it. I'll file an emergency motion to lock her assets. We'll hit them hard." I nodded, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just about love anymore, it was about justice. The next day I met Lena at a brewery in East Austin, the smell of hops grounding me. "Tessa's been hiding more money offshore," I said, showing her the statements. "Mason's her funnel, but Carla's the mastermind." Lena's eyes widened. "This is bigger than a divorce," she said. "Carla's been using Tessa to launder firm funds. Your matrix was the bait to draw in buyers." I leaned back, the brewery's hum fading. "What's Tessa's endgame?" I asked. "She thinks she's getting out," Lena said. "Mason's promised her a cut, probably a lie. Carla's using them both to cover her tracks." I didn't trust Tessa's tears, but I needed her next move. I called Nora. "Track Tessa's travel," I said. "She's not in Austin. Find her." Nora was on it, but she had another bombshell. "Mason's been meeting with a lawyer too," she said. "He's planning to cut Tessa out of the San Antonio deal. He's got a new partner, someone outside the firm." "Who?" I asked, my voice tight. "Not sure yet," Nora said, "but they're moving fast." I spent the afternoon fortifying my position. Derek filed the motion locking Tessa's offshore account. I changed every password again, even for my personal investments. I wasn't just protecting my money, I was protecting my future. That night I got a call from Tessa's brother Owen Whitmore, a gruff contractor who'd never warmed to me. "What the hell, Justin?" he said, his voice heated. "Tessa's a mess. You froze her accounts, her cards. What's your problem?" "She's been stealing from me," I said, my tone cold. $65,000, Owen. She's been lying to you too." He went quiet, then cursed. I didn't know he said. "She said it was just stress. I'll talk to her." I didn't trust him, but his shock sounded real. Maybe Tessa had played her family too. The next twist hit like a thunderclap. Nora texted me a photo, Tessa in Houston checking into a hotel with a man I didn't recognize, not Mason. Older, polished, with a silver watch glinting on his wrist. "Who's this?" I texted back. Nora's reply was swift. "Nathan Holt. Private equity guy, big player in San Antonio. He's the new partner in Mason's side deal. My blood ran cold. Tessa wasn't just a pawn, she was playing her own game, hedging her bets with a new player. I called Lena. Tessa's with Nathan Holt, I said. He's Mason's new partner. She's double-crossing him. Lena whistled. She's walking a tightrope, she said. Holt's got a reputation cutthroat connected. If Mason finds out, she's screwed. I didn't care about Tessa's safety, but I needed Holt's role. I spent the night digging using my firm's database to cross-reference Holt's transactions. He'd been funneling money to Carla's shell account, $160,000 over 6 months. The web was bigger than I'd thought. Carla wasn't just skimming, she was laundering with Holt as her silent partner. The next morning I got a call from Claire, her voice panicked. Justin, Tessa's in trouble. She called me last night crying. Said she's in too deep with some guy, Nathan, I think. She's scared. I stayed silent, letting her ramble. She didn't say much, just that she needs cash. I told her to come home, but she hung up. I didn't feel sympathy, just clarity. Thanks, Claire, I said, hanging up. Tessa's fear was her own making. I met Derek at his office, laying out the new evidence, Holt's payments, Tessa's hotel check-in, Claire's call. We've got enough for a fraud suit, he said. Against Carla Mason, maybe Holt. But Tessa, she's slippery. We need her to crack. I nodded, my plan forming. Then we bait her, I said. Let her think I'm softening, she'll slip. That afternoon I texted Tessa. Let's talk. No games, come home. She didn't reply, but Nora tracked her phone to a Houston airport, boarding a flight to San Antonio. She was running to Holt, thinking he was her escape. I wasn't chasing her, not yet. I needed her to feel safe to make her next mistake. The final twist of the day came from an anonymous email with a single attachment, a voice recording. I played it, my pulse spiking. It was Tessa talking to Holt in a hotel room. Mason's out, she said, her voice low. He's too greedy. You and I can take the San Antonio deal, split it 50-50. Holt's voice was smooth, cold. And your husband? He's digging. Tessa laughed, a sound that cut deep. Justin, he's all numbers, no fight. He'll roll over. The recording cut off, leaving me in silence. I saved the file, my hand steady. Tessa thought I'd roll over. She was wrong. This wasn't just a divorce plot, it was a war, and I was armed. The Austin skyline flickered under a stormy dusk. As I sat in my office, the anonymous recording of Tessa and Nathan Holt echoing in my mind. My wife wasn't just betraying me with Mason Rutledge, she was double-crossing him with Holt, scheming to steal my investment strategy and leave me broken. Carla Bennett, Claire Mason, Tessa Holt. They'd woven a tapestry of deceit to strip me of my work, my trust, my life. But I wasn't ensnared. I was Justin Sawyer, and I'd turned their lies into a ledger that settled every debt. Nora's text about Carla's meeting with the San Antonio buyer with Claire in tow was a flare in the dark. They thought they could slip away, but I was closing the net. I called Nora at 6 a.m., her voice crisp despite the hour. Carla's meeting the San Antonio buyer tonight, I said. A group called Pinnacle Equity. Claire's with her. I need the where, the when, and their pitch. Got it, Nora said. Pinnacle's known for buying hot IP, no questions asked. I'll have something by noon. While she worked, I met Lena at a coffee shop in South Austin, the smell of espresso and cedar grounding me. I showed her Nora's latest file, Carla's Cayman's account, Claire's double-cross plan, the San Antonio deal. They've cut Tessa out, I said. Carla's calling the shots now. Lena's eyes narrowed, her mug pausing mid-sip. Tessa's out, that's ruthless. What's the move? We don't lock the system, I said, my voice steel. We expose them to Pinnacle. If they lose this, they're finished. Lena grinned fierce. You're a damn vault, Justin, I'm in. Nora delivered by 11 a.m., texting a location, a private rooftop lounge in San Antonio's downtown, 7 p.m. Carla and Claire were pitching my strategy as their own promising Pinnacle, a clean product for $2 million. But Nora had more. Carla's desperate, she said over the phone. She's been dodging creditors. That $750,000 she skimmed half, went to settle her real estate loans, the rest to Pinnacle as a deposit. If this deal fails, she's ruined. And Claire, I asked, my jaw tight. She's drowning, Nora said. Carla's got her on a leash, threatened to expose her bad loans if she doesn't play ball. But she's still scheming. She's got a burner phone texting a whistleblower about the deal, Claire always plotting her escape. I didn't feel pity, just resolve. I called Owen Walsh, a former analyst at our firm, pushed out by Carla for flagging budget irregularities. Owen, 38, was a numbers wizard with a score to settle. We met at his loft, a cluttered space with monitors and energy drinks. I showed him the evidence, Carla's accounts, Claire's texts, the San Antonio pitch. I need you to help me end this, I said. Owen's eyes glinted. Carla cost me my job, I'm all in. We moved fast. Owen hacked into Carla's cloud drive, pulling the final pitch deck, my strategy rebranded with Claire's name slapped on it. Lena secured us access to the lounge, leveraging a contact from her consulting days. By 5 p.m., we were on a flight to San Antonio, the Texas skyline fading below. I wore a suit, my laptop tucked under my arm. Lena and Owen flanked me. Our faces set the city air sharp as we landed. The San Antonio rooftop lounge was all glass and starlight, a haven for dealmakers. Carla was there, her blazer crisp, her smile calculated. Claire stood beside her, her eyes darting, her posture tense. The Pinnacle execs, 2 men in tailored suits, their gazes predatory, sat at a corner table, sipping whiskey. Tessa was gone, erased like a bad trade. Carla's pitch was polished, her voice steady. Our matrix is unmatched, secure, scalable, ready for market. Claire nodded, playing the loyal partner, her grin forced. They showcased my strategy, my late nights, my work dressed up as their victory. I stood, my voice slicing through the buzz. Before you buy, gentlemen, you should know the truth. Carla's eyes locked on mine, her face paling. Claire froze, her glass trembling. The Pinnacle execs raised their eyebrows, intrigued. Justin, Carla said, her voice tight but calm. This is a private meeting. Not anymore, I said, plugging my laptop into the projector. The screen lit up, emails between Carla and Claire plotting to sell my strategy. Bank records of Carla's $750,000 theft. Claire's burner phone texts planning her whistleblower leak. And my project logs time-stamped proving every concept was mine. The room went quiet, the air heavy. One of the Pinnacle execs, a man with a gray beard, leaned forward. This true, Miss Bennett? Carla stammered, her poise cracking. It's a misunderstanding. Justin's disgruntled. Personal issues. No, I said, my voice steel. You stole my work. Skimmed $750,000 from our firm. Claire's playing you, planning to leak this deal to the feds for a bigger cut. Claire's face went white. Justin, you're wrong. Am I? I cut in, clicking to the next slide, her whistleblower texts clear as day. The Pinnacle execs exchanged glances, their faces hardening. Carla tried to salvage it, her voice rising. This is a setup. Justin's sabotaging us. Sabotaging, I snapped, my tone cold. You built your pitch on my matrix. Done. The bearded exec stood, his voice low. We don't deal with liars. He nodded to his partner and they walked out, their whiskey untouched. Carla's shoulders slumped, her empire crumbling. Claire grabbed her purse, muttering, you'll pay for this. But her voice was weak, defeated. I didn't linger. I walked out, Lena and Owen behind me, the San Antonio night crisp and biting. Back in Austin, I found Tessa's closet half empty, her jewelry gone. A note on the kitchen island. I'm sorry, Justin. I didn't know how to stop. I tore it up, the pieces falling like ash, but there was one more twist. The next morning, Nora called. Carla's running, she said. She's liquidating firm assets, trying to vanish. But Claire, she's flipped. She's talking to the board, offering to testify against Carla for immunity. I leaned back, the Austin skyline steady outside. Claire, always the survivor, throwing Carla under the bus to save herself. I didn't call her. I didn't need her version of the truth. Instead, I met Lena and Owen at the coffee shop, the smell of espresso grounding me. Carla's done, I said, showing them Nora's latest file. She's selling off firm assets to cover her tracks. Lena grinned fierce. Then we bury her, for good. We didn't freeze the system, we went public. Owen leaked our evidence to the board, the press even dropping snippets online where finance pros tore into Carla's scheme. The story exploded, trending as a cautionary tale of corporate greed undone. Carla was fired by noon, her reputation shredded. Claire disappeared, likely dodging her debts. Mason surfaced in Houston, working a low-level sales job, his charm no match for his ruined name. But Tessa was still out there with Nathan Holt. Nora tracked her to San Antonio, holed up in a condo owned by Holt's private equity firm. I didn't chase her, not yet. I needed Holt's endgame. I called Derek, my lawyer. Holt's the key, I said. He's been funding Carla, playing Tessa and Mason. We need to take him down. Derek was already drafting a fraud suit, his voice steady. We've got enough, he said. Emails, bank records, the recording. We'll hit them all. The next twist came from an unexpected source. I got a call from Tessa's brother, Owen Whitmore. His voice was rough, apologetic. "Justin, I didn't know how bad this was," he said. "Tessa called me last night terrified. Said some guy Holt is pushing her to sign over your strategy. She wants out, but she's stuck." I stayed silent, processing. "What's she asking for?" I said finally. Owen sighed. "Help. She knows she messed up. She's ready to talk to make this right." I didn't trust Tessa, not after her lies, but I saw an opening. "Tell her to meet me," I said. "Tomorrow, Austin. Neutral ground." Owen agreed, his relief clear. I hung up, my plan forming. If Tessa was willing to talk, I could use her to bury Holt and Mason for good. The meeting was set for a brewery in Austin's east side, a place we'd loved in better days. I arrived early, my laptop ready, Nora's latest file on Holt burning a hole in my pocket. Tessa walked in at 10 a.m., her face pale, her eyes tired. She looked smaller, stripped of her usual fire. She sat across from me, her hands trembling around a pint glass. "Justin," she said, her voice soft. "I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need your help." "Help," I said, my tone cold. "You stole $65,000, Tessa. You sold my work, lied to my face, and ran to Holt. Why should I trust you?" Her eyes welled, but she didn't look away. "Because I'm done lying," she said. "Holt's dangerous. He's got me cornered, threatened to ruin me if I don't deliver your strategy. I didn't know it would go this far." She slid a flash drive across the table. "Everything I have on him. Emails, contracts, bank transfers. It's yours." I didn't touch the drive, not yet. "Why now?" I asked. She swallowed, her voice breaking. "Because I saw you in Houston at the Gulfstream meeting. You didn't just fight, you won. I realized I backed the wrong side." Her words landed, but they didn't move me. I saw the woman I'd loved, but I also saw the liar who'd called me weak. "I'll take it," I said, pocketing the drive. "But this doesn't fix us. You're on your own." She nodded, tears spilling. "I know," she whispered. "Just watch out. Holt's not like Mason. He doesn't lose." I stood, leaving her there. The brewery's hum swallowing her sobs. Back at my office, I plugged in the drive. Tessa wasn't bluffing. Holt's fingerprints were everywhere. Emails tying him to Carla's laundering scheme, contracts for the San Antonio deal, even a memo outlining plans to discredit me if I fought back. It was enough to bury him. I forwarded everything to Derek, who whistled over the phone. "This is our kill shot," he said. "We'll file tomorrow. Holt's done." The next morning, we filed against Holt, Carla, and Mason, citing theft, fraud, and conspiracy. The evidence, Tessa's drive, Owen's leaks, Nora's files, was airtight. By afternoon, the story hit the news. Financial firm rocked by fraud allegations, with Holt and Carla's names front and center. Mason wasn't named, but his career was toast. The firm survived, and I rebuilt, bringing Lena on as a partner. My salary stayed at $180,000, but the firm's revenue climbed to $100 million, my legacy secure. Months later, I stood on my balcony, the Austin skyline glowing under a clear dusk. Tessa reached out once, a letter slipped under my office door. "I'm starting over, Justin. I'll never forgive myself." I burned it, the ashes scattering in the breeze. Forgiveness wasn't mine to give, not yet. I'd bought that ranch in Dripping Springs not for Tessa, but for me. The scars remained, but they didn't define me. So what would you have done? Exposed them like I did, or walked away, letting their lies fester? Sometimes I wonder if I should have let Tessa go sooner, spared my heart the cuts. Or did I forge something greater by fighting back? What do you think? You're here because this story meant something. Don't scroll away without leaving a like, a thought, and your subscription. Revenge Forge is where real stories find their voice, and yours.